And I am live. Hello, everybody. I am the Nomad. No home is safe and fit for me. I am lost in the desert, just a lonely cry off into the desert, a lonely cry in the wilderness of what is today's our political landscape. And I've got commentary today. Now, normally I would have my co-hosts with me, either Jensen or possibly Batman, or any one of the number of my rogues gallery that would be out here helping out, but not today. No, today it's just me, and I'm just going to go on a rant instead of just trying to make this kind of a fun kind of a thing. It's just going to be a rant too much. All right, so anyway, let's get started with the news, shall we? First of all, now, once again, this will be news most of you either haven't heard about or no one's really given you any kind of opinion about. We'll start with Elon Musk. Elon Musk from Jezebel is a free speech advocate, but if you criticize him, you're fired. Apparently, Miss Lauren Tossignant, I don't know how to butcher your name correctly, all right, how to correctly say it. I'm not intentionally butchering it, Lauren, but you've got a problem. You think you're a journalist. You're not a journalist. Okay? And here's what I'm talking about. Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, is in the process of closing a $44 billion deal to buy Twitter. What does this have to do with Twitter? Not a bloody thing, folks. Not a bloody thing, Lauren. Right? Because you're going to bring in the non sequitur. Right? Because he was very upset that some people got kicked off the platform for being hateful, disinformation peddling Nazis. Now, that's an interesting statement, Lauren. I want proof that the people who got kicked off were hateful, disinformation peddling Nazis. You made an accusation there, you piece of shit. Okay? No, they got kicked off for telling people the truth, and you don't want to hear it. This is what the left always does. Oh, they were peddling disinformation. And every time you kick somebody off for disinformation, they come back and say, what is it exactly I said that is inaccurate? And, well, it's disinformation. You're making people feel bad. No, we're not making anybody feel bad. We're trying to tell people the truth. If you feel bad about it, it's because you freaking listen and trust the wrong friggin' people. AKA people in the government and left-wing lunatics. Just like this, you're not an honest person, all right? He believes in free speech. He believes it's for everyone else, unless apparently you want to criticize him. Wrong. That's not what this is about. You lying sack of shit. At 2 a.m. on Friday morning, the New York Times, oh, you were up, huh? Reported that SpaceX had allegedly fired some of its employees who were involved in writing and distributing an open letter to their boss. Bing, 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 bing. They got fired. All right? For frickin' causing problems within a company. You can't do that. Lauren, why don't you go tell your boss he's a piece of shit and start trying to undermine him with the rest of your co-workers, all right, to see if you can get him sacked. Why don't you try that? This isn't about freedom of speech. This is about working for him. He's not kicking anybody off. He's sitting up there saying, no, you have to sit up there and be business-oriented. They got involved in something that has nothing to do with the business. But see, Lauren here, in her hypocritical stance, because she believes that the rules like this, the only people who should be held to a higher standard are somebody who exhibits conservative principles or conservative thought or conservative logic. If you're not down for the LGBTQ Marxist policies of the world, oh, Lauren, you're going to be gone. Right, Lauren? This has nothing to do with freedom of speech. You brought in something that had nothing to do with this. Okay? And these people, it made me feel ashamed, and it made me feel bullied, and it made me feel... Oh, so in other words, when you're told to do something, and it did, and he's making me do my job. In fact, what was going around is a bunch of these leftist little Marxists were running around so they're saying, you better sign this or we're going to call you. And what was the word you used? A hateful, disinformation peddling Nazi, right, Warren? Anybody who dares disagree with you. And this woman thinks she's a journalist. Now, I'm assuming that Lauren's a woman. Don't know her. Don't care. But Jezebel, this is not journalism. This is the problem. You guys are acting as if, no, this is journalistic. This is not journalism. And this isn't journalistic ethics. And this isn't morals. You're not moral people. In fact, what you are is the exact thing everyone else you're calling. What you started the article with. You're a hate-filled, disinformation peddling Nazi. Let's go on to another story. That's right on up there. I almost wish that all the Nazis they think exist were real. They would at least put the journalists in prison. No, they would put journalists who didn't agree with them in prison. All right, you fail to understand something. Lauren thinks that when they take over, she'll be safe, and she probably will be, because she won't criticize, the regime. The Marxist regime is above reproach. Now, she may run afoul with some other kind of rants, all right, another kind of crap, but not that. But let's go back to another story that's been going on and on and on and on and on and never seems to end. Julian Assange can be extradited, says the UK Home Secretary. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's extradition to the U.S. has been approved by the UK Home Secretary Priti Patel. Mr. Assange has 14 days to appeal over the decision, the Home Office said. It said the courts found extradition would not be incompatible with his human rights and that while in the U.S., he will be treated appropriately. He will be treated better than he's being treated right now in Britain, I can tell you that. Right? Mr. Assange is wanted by American authorities over documents. It's not over documents leaked. See, we can't tell the truth. This is the BBC. Now, who wrote this? Charlie Adams. Mr. Charlie Adams is a liar. Okay? They want Julian Assange for paying people, all right, to break their oaths to get his hands on classified information for the purpose of harming the United States. And helping to hide, all right, and provide material support to include paying, all right, and to try and get them in touch with other people to help them hide their nefarious activities so he could continue, all right, to get his hands on classified information that he thinks will hurt the United States so he could release it. Julian Assange is not a friggin' hero, folks. He's a foreign intelligence asset. He is doing something that's no different, all right, than the KGB or the FIB. And I'm saying FIB for those who don't understand. I'll let you figure out who I'm talking about. Or any one of the other foreign assets out there, foreign agency assets, all right, the KSA. They're acting like he's acting as a foreign spy. He's not a journalist who just, a document just appeared in my hands. That's not what happened here. Now, you can say that Julian Assange hasn't been treated the best. You can say that there were trumped-up charges, and I would agree with you, the trumped-up charges from Sweden. But this guy is not a freaking hero just trying to get out the truth. No, you don't. You're just trying to harm the United States. And you stepped over the line when you started paying people, all right, to spy on the United States. Because that's what you were doing. There's a huge difference between the plumbers who delivered to the the Washington Post a freaking manila envelope with classified material in it. They never really knew who the plumbers were. He didn't harm America nearly as much as the current government. I'm not going to argue that point, Matt. You're not wrong. Hi, Susan. You're not wrong. Okay? But that still doesn't mean that Julian Assange didn't commit crimes and what he actually is. He's not a fighter on your side, folks. He's not looking out for you. Now, considering what the UK has done with him so far, this is my personal opinion. They've kept this man in solitary confinement for 2 years with literally no charges against him in Britain. They have kept him in police custody in Belmarsh Prison in solitary confinement for 2 friggin' years without any charges being leveled against him. He's served his time for what he's done. But make no mistake, that doesn't make him a hero. All right? That doesn't mean, oh, this is a blow for freedom of speech. This has nothing to do with freedom of speech, folks. Just giving you my opinion. Hello, Susan. Hi, Sherardi. Hi, Ms. Murder. Gotta love this one. The Navy has fired dozens of leaders, but won't explain why. Really? The Navy has fired nearly a dozen officers in leadership positions in less than 3 months, including 5 in 1 week, due to a loss of confidence in their ability to command. An unusual string of terminations across the land, air, and sea teams, experts said. At least 9 commanding officers and 2 senior advisors have been relieved of their duties since April, when a cluster of suicides on the USS George Washington warship sparked widespread concern of a mental health crisis. A total of 13 commanding officers have been fired so far this year. So the start of this thing saying nearly a dozen, it's more than a dozen, all right? So we'll quibble with that. Melissa Chan, you might want to learn how to write things a little bit more effectively there, all right? Including 12 in the Navy and 1 in the Marine Corps, all right? The Navy said most recently 4 naval commanding officers and a top leader were ousted from June 8th to June 14th. It's unclear what prompted the personnel changes, which the Navy said were unrelated to each other. The Navy did not elaborate further on specific conditions that led to the firings, but stressed the importance of trust and confidence across all levels of the chain of command. All levels of the chain of command, huh? All levels of the chain of command. That doesn't include Biden. Oh, yes, it does. Can't fire the commander-in-chief, though, can you? I think it's a lark, folks. The Navy has long maintained high standards for all its personnel. No, they don't. The Marines have some high standards. Okay? The Navy, not so much, okay? It's a comparative stand. It's a comparative thing. Don't get me wrong. Our Navy compared to most navies in the world, I think our Navy is comparable from a standards perspective of the top navies in the world, to include Britain. Okay? That doesn't mean, okay, that the standards for Navy personnel are the same as for Marine personnel, or the standards are the same for the other military services in the military. Now, you can say, well, that's inter-service rivalry there, Nomad. Yeah. All right. Maybe. I would like to know how many of these are related, however, to I'm not taking the shot. And I'm not getting rid of people who didn't take the shot. I suspect there's a lot to do with that. Well, here's a goodie. 50 years after Watergate, Woodward still wonders why Nixon did it. Really? Really, Chris Lefko, okay? 50 years after the Watergate burglary that led to the downfall of U.S. President Richard Nixon, the Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward is still haunted by one question. The unanswered question that pulses through all of this is why, Woodward said in an event at Post headquarters with his former reporting colleague Carl Bernstein. Why did top members of Nixon's election committee organize a break-in at the Democrat National Committee headquarters at the Watergate on June 17, 1972? Well, first of all, the Nixon administration wasn't Nixon, okay? See, Bob Woodward here thinks he's a big hero, and he's not. All he is a piece of shit. He's a muckraker. You see, if Nixon, okay, if Richard Nixon decided to make a fight of it, okay, yes, it would put trauma through the country. It would have put the country through trauma. But if Richard Nixon would have done that, he would have been exonerated. You want to know why? Because they had no evidence that he did anything wrong. They had no evidence that he did anything impeachable. Well, he tried to cover up him. No, man. He tried to cover up what was going on. He tried to cover. He sat up there and said, hey, I'm the commander-in-chief. And what's more is I can decide who investigates what. Just like what's going on right now, because no one is investigating good old Hunter. Who's investigating Hunter Biden? Where's Merrick Garland sitting up there talking about the investigation into frickin' Joe Biden? Now that it's been confirmed that he's the big guy. That all the evidence is just sitting right there. Where is it all? Well, the president, he can decide, how these things go and how these investigations work out and everything. I'm not saying Nixon was a frickin' saint by any stretch of the imagination. But Nixon cared more for this country, all right, than he did for his career. And unlike certain other individuals, Bill Clinton, anybody? Ever since then, the Democrats have known that they don't have to be held accountable for the criminal activity that they commit because the bureaucracy will back them up and hide the evidence. And not just the bureaucracy, but the mainstream media as well. The real question here, Carl Bernstein and Bobby Woodward, the real question is why did anybody tolerate Mark Felder, all right, the asshole who stood up there and brought down the Nixon White House by being deep throat, a guy who did it because he didn't make me the FBI director. I wanted to be the FBI director, and Nixon wouldn't make me the FBI director, and I show you. And so he leaked innuendo-laden crap, all right, to justify this. And if you wonder why they were trying to spy on the Democrats, all you got to do is look at the Marxist that you are. You're a threat to the nation, Bob. You're not a hero any more than Julian Assange is. You're a Marxist. That doesn't mean you should be going to jail. But you're a Marxist, asshole. Don't try to come back and say, oh, I'm full of journalistic ethics and propriety. Bullshit. Bullshit. Maybe people saw this. Excessive heat blamed for thousands of Kansas cattle deaths. Excuse me. The blistering heat wave killed thousands of cattle in Kansas over the weekend, and more excessive heat is forecast through this weekend. According to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, the state is aware of at least 2,000 cattle heads in the southwest region, but the number is based on the number of calls the agency has received to help with disposing of the carcasses. The actual number of deaths could be much higher. The combination of higher temperatures, humidity, and not a lot of wind made it difficult for cows to stay cool, said Matt Lauer, a State Department of the Health and Environmental spokesman. Right? Videos show cattle deaths have been circulating on social media. Kansas is one of the nation's top cattle producers, ranking third behind Texas and Nebraska. It's a distant third, folks. Heat stress in cattle is caused by a combination of high temperatures, high humidity, and little or no wind to cool them off. This is very true. Okay? Cattle do get high stressed when the temperatures are extraordinarily high and they can't get out of it. Okay? Now, all that being said, there are lots of ways farmers in the heat, it's not like every summer we don't go through this. Every summer we go through this. I grew up on a farm. You think 108-degree heat, which is excessive, all right, doesn't happen in Kansas every friggin' year? It does. The problem is that it was early in the season, and so they hadn't brought the cattle in areas where they would put sprayers on them to keep them cool and so forth. That's where the problem was. But they're making it sound like, oh my God, all these cattle. Look, it's a part of being on a farm. Okay? And don't get me wrong, it's going to cause spikes in meat. Meanwhile, Canada now has a cricket processing plant for human and animal consumption because crickets are so delicious. We need a cattle water park. No, you have little misters and things like that. I mean, the feedlot cattle, they know how to take care of the cattle, all right, in the feedlots. Right? They have sprayers, they keep them cool, and they get them out of the friggin' sun. All right? And they have these huge things that blow fans that move the air around them. All right? Look, high temperatures are miserable for everybody. I understand that. Okay? It's uncomfortable, don't get me wrong. But they're acting like this is something brand new. This never happens. No, it happens all the damn time. All right. The problem is right now with the way everything else is going, it's just one more thing that's happening. All right, at a time frame when a certain individual are in this country at the top of our country are trying to break us economically, and they're doing a damn good job. Heathrow's great mountain of uncollected luggage gets bigger. Airports admit it has an issue with baggage system as thousands of suitcases pile up and passengers are told it could be days before they are reunited. And you take a look at this is just absolutely insane. We're sorry for losing your luggage. Dude, this caused me to be seriously wondering. I've had a bag lost before, folks. I had a bag that was lost for 2 years. I'm not exaggerating this. For 2 years. I had a bag that was lost. All right? And I only knew it was 2 years ago because I got a call from the United States Air Force saying, hey, did you lose a bag way back when? And I was like, well, yeah, but why? Well, we found it in Kuwait. I was like, what the hell is it doing in Kuwait? Well, it kind of looked like one of our bags, so somebody just threw it in with theirs. And so the Air Force basically stole my bag for 2 years. Was Hillary threw in the air? Yesterday, there was a technical issue with Terminal 2 baggage system. It's now been resolved. Okay, passengers will now be able to check in as normal, but the number of passengers who departed from Terminal 2 yesterday may have traveled without their luggage. May have? I think that it probably didn't. The BBC sports report presenter, I guess luggage comes under the sports, it's part of the sports commentary in Britain, all right? Mark Clement was among those caught up in the chaos this morning as he posted a number of images on his social media page. He tweeted, excuse me, it's official at Heathrow Airport. You officially lost the plot. Hoping to see you later in Toronto, but no guarantees. It's nice to know that other people's baggage systems that have been working fine for years are now on the verge of breaking down. Okay, back to the U.S. Mr. Lawrence Hurley. Liberal Justice Sotomayor said the U.S. Supreme Court's mistakes can be fixed. Not while you're on it. Can we fix you? Can we get you, remove you from the court? One of the biggest mistakes on the Supreme Court is you. All right? Now, granted, you're not as big a mistake as Kagan. All right? I'll give you that. You at least had some credentials. I'll give Sotomayor credit for that, all right? But she's not a justice, all right? She's a Marxist activist. That's all she is. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor on Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court's mistakes, said U.S. Supreme Court's mistakes in high-profile cases can be corrected over time, as she adopted a positive tone ahead of a decision in which its conservative majority is expected to curtail abortion rights. Allowing for abortions by sitting up there saying, you know what, it's up to the states to determine what this is, and that it was governmental overreach, all right, by the previous courts? You mean that? You mean where the courts sit up there and impose themselves and created rights out of whole cloth that didn't exist? And sit up there and put a two-tier system in place between one citizen and another citizen? Is that what you're talking about? Where it's actually a three-tiered system because the third citizen, all right, is killed. It all stems from the fact of when does human life begin? Until we as a society, and if you leave it up to the states, it can be left up to 50 individual societies as it's supposed to be. All right? Make these decisions. Otherwise, it's oppression, no matter how you want to look at it. You're imposing your view on everybody else of when human life begins. And when I ask these leftists that question, when does human life begin? I almost never get an answer. Or I get the answer, well, when the person's born. Well, when is that? Why are you choosing when the person is born? Why are you choosing that as a demarcation? What's your logic behind that? Well, viability, nomad, viability. Viability? Viability is a moving target. We've already proven that. So that ain't the answer. How about leave it up to the states to make their own rules? Oh, they're going to ban abortion throughout the country. Really? In New York City, it's not going to be. All the way up and down the East Coast, it's not going to be. So what's your problem? Well, and the people in the states that don't want abortions, that they want an abortion, they can walk across the border. Hell, Planned Parenthood was trying to run around saying, we'll pay for you for tickets to fly on over and get an abortion and fly back to your state. Some fiery pieces coming. So what is the left doing? Ever since this, quote-unquote pro-abortion groups are going around firebombing clinics that are pro-life. Have you been hearing about that in the media? It's amazing, all right, that literal firebombs are being thrown at clinics, all right, that are pro-life clinics, and the media is completely silent about it. Gee, almost sounds like BLM. You wonder why no one's trusting the system? Because we know when you put a leftist in charge of the system, you have a two-tier justice system. If you believe their way politically, you're given more than the benefit of the doubt. But if you if you don't toe the party line, you're history, pal. Peaceful firebombs. Firebombs of peace. Let's go on, shall we? New monkeypox advice is to have sex with your clothes on and masturbate 6 feet apart. The odd guidance is included in a list of precautions that have been issued by the CDC. New monkeypox guidance has suggested that people should have sex with their clothes on or masturbate 6 feet apart from each other. American health officials have released the surprise recommendation for anybody who wishes to get amorous but suspects that they might have been exposed to the infection. How about telling them, if you think you've been exposed, all right, don't have sex like an irresponsible asshat? Oh my God. Is that kind of guidance too much for you? All right? It amazes me. Put a mask on. Wasn't their guidance always wrap that rascal? Hasn't that been the standard CDC guidance? Oh, the precaution is aimed at preventing the virus from spreading, are among a list of safe sexual activities released by the CDC that monkeypox patients could engage in. How about don't have sex? And yet, these clowns still have jobs. Not a one of... seriously, you need to put somebody in charge out there who's going to say, who wrote this? Which group? Which group of you Mensa candidates all put this together for release? And fire every single one of them. These are clowns, folks. These are clowns. These are incompetent buffoons. I have been railing against the CDC, all right, repeatedly because it is obvious to anybody who watches their activities in whatever they're talking about that they're clowns. How can you take anything they say seriously when they come up with dumb shit like this? And it would be one thing if it happened once in a while, but it happens repeatedly with these idiots. Additional advice includes avoid kissing, and if you can't keep your clothes on, then make sure the areas are covered where the rash sores are present. See the pustules? Don't rub your pustules on somebody else. Hazmat suit with holes strategically poked in them. Oh, it gets even better. All right. It is yet to be confirmed whether monkeypox can be sexually transmitted. But that is now a World Health Organization investigation after the infection was found in the semen of a patient. Yeah, what? Really? For those who don't believe me, these are all news stories, folks. I don't make this stuff up. This is your government. This is your tax dollars at work. I'm serious. They need to find out who wrote this and give them their pink slip. These people are obvious. Or either that, if you can't fire them, because the government workers, no magic, you can't fire government. If you can't fire them, I got a solution for them. Make them bathroom attendants. All of them. Because they're not capable of anything else. All right? Give them a level of responsibility that they're at least competent in. And I would hope that bathroom attendants would be one of the things that they should be competent and able to do. They sure as hell can't give freaking guidance concerning freaking communicable diseases. They really can't. Oh, heaven forbid. Man named Legenius arrested again for some really dumb stuff. Perhaps a name change is in order for Legenius Williams, the 22-year-old Floridian who has already served prison time for attempted murder and robbery. What's he doing out? Well, it was when he was a juvenile. No, man, you can't get... If he's up for attempted murder, I think you can keep him behind bars for more than just a few days, okay? Right, is back behind bars on an assortment of felony gun and drug charges following his arrest on Monday night. Police allege that Williams struck his girlfriend in the face with a handgun, then fled the St. Petersburg crime scene in a Chevy driven by another man. The cops performed a pit maneuver to stop the vehicle, then arrested Williams and the driver. A search of the car uncovered a pair of loaded firearms, as well as cocaine and fentanyl, according to court filings. Seen above, Williams was booked into county jail for aggravated domestic battery, drug trafficking, narcotics possession, and weapons offenses. He is being held in lieu of $77,000 bond. In 2013, when Williams was 13, he was arrested for shooting a 15-year-old boy. He was subsequently sentenced to 8 years in prison for attempted murder as well as unrelated robbery charges. Now, this gets better. 5 months after release from state prison in late 2020, Williams was arrested for cocaine possession, driving without a license, and illegally possessing a handgun. Why did you not put him... He broke probation. Why was he not back in jail? Okay, why did you let him out? But no, he was freed last February on $12,000 bond. The 2021 case is pending, and a judge this week revoked Williams' bond in light of his latest arrest. Why did you let him out to begin with? You gave him his one chance because he was a juvenile, and 5 months! He's already committing massive felonies and crimes, including possession of a firearm that he's not legally allowed to have. That gun law worked really well, didn't it? Folks. It's not about drug possession. I've said this before. A lot of people go, well, these people in jail. No, man, they're in jail because, they're just on jail on a drug possession charge. A lot of those guys that are in jail on a drug possession charge were charged with far more than that, all right, and plea bargained it down so that they would get less time. These career criminals need to be permanently removed from the streets. They need to be incarcerated until they are no longer a threat to society. Probably was an honor student too. You just can't win for losing, folks. You can't win for losing with this stuff. A deal for a man who asked cops to test his meth. A Florida man who gave police 2 baggies of methamphetamine and asked him to test the stash for him will have to perform community service and refrain from using alcohol and drugs as part of a deal with prosecutors, according to court records. This is what I'm talking about. Why are you letting this person out on jail? All right? All right. Thomas Colucci, 41, this month entered a pretrial intervention contract that defers his prosecution for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia. The contract requires Colucci to perform 25 hours of community service and pay around $700 in court costs and fees. Additionally, Colucci is prohibited from visiting bars and consuming or possessing illegal drugs. He was also to be drug tested monthly and must submit to urinalysis, breathalyzer, or blood test as requested by probation officials, according to the contract filed in court this week. If Colucci successfully completes his pre-trial supervision, the case against him could be dismissed. However, If he were to violate terms of the contract, Colucci would be tried on felony and misdemeanor counts. Try him now, okay? Colucci, cops reported, said he was a drug addict who had consumed meth in the past and knows what meth should feel like. Noting that the substance he ingested did not have the burning sensation, Colucci added he believed that the meth was actually bath salts from a Google search that he conducted. He then called 911 and he did not want other users to purchase the fake meth from JJ, who did not know his dealer's real name. All right, he just wanted JJ to be in trouble because he believed that the drugs that JJ was selling were dangerous. The meth ain't dangerous, but the fake meth is a different story. Just a humanitarian. You can't make these stories up. And you have prosecutors going, "Oh, let's give him a break." He didn't mean it. He's not a threat to anybody. He's a meth addict. He's a threat to everybody, including himself. Oh, jeez. Final story, folks, for a good news story. It's a good news story, folks. Final story of the day. New Hampshire distillery turns invasive crabs into whiskey. From the UPI, a New Hampshire distillery unveiled a new whiskey with an unusual ingredient, invasive green crabs. Tamworth Distilling said it teamed up with the University of New Hampshire's NH Green Crab Project to develop House of Tamworth Crab Trapper, which is billed as being made with a bourbon base steeped with custom crab, corn, and spice blend mixture. Steve Grassi, the owner of Tamworth Distilling, said the developers boiled more than 90 pounds of the tiny crabs into crab stock that they then fortified with Tamworth-made neutral grain spirits and distilled in a rotary vacuum. It has a crab on the nose for certain, Grassi said. He said it tastes like a briny and bitter fireball. Crabs were used for liquor. The crabs used for liquor came from the Seabrook, New Hampshire trapper. Green crabs are native to Europe and are considered an invasive threat to the New England ecosystem. We are raising awareness of the problem in a way that's fun and interesting, but also shows that through creativity and gumption, we can turn these pesky critters into a tasty treat. We want more brave souls in the culinary arts to rise to the challenge, defeat the enemy by eating them. House of Tamworth Crab Trapper is being sold at a price of $65 for a 750 milliliter bottle. Can't taste worse than tequila. That might be. That sounds disgusting. It does sound disgusting. God. Yeah, you gotta give credit for at least something unique. You know, you want to save the ecosystem, save the environment, boil the crab and drink it down. I don't know, folks. If it lives in the water, it can stay in the water. That's all I've ever said. Hipsters will go for it. Drunk college kids would go for it if it wasn't $65 a bottle. They should have been selling this for like $2.50 a pint. Right? You really want to develop a base for this. You want people to sit up there and start helping you out here. Sell it for $2.50 a pint and see how many people show up. It's not kosher. Oh, it amazes me. It's just the world that we live in, folks. The world we live in. All right, everybody. That's all the stories I got for right now. I appreciate you all coming out. It's nice to see everybody again. Hope that you all have a good day, and I'll talk at you all later. Bye bye, everybody.